Film, where we cover the best in independent film and television in the Memphis and Mid-South area. Good to have you back with us for another show. We are going to be talking tonight to a couple of folks, Mr. John Pickle of the legendary Pickle TV and also lately of the independent filmmaking circuit, as well as Tracy Lorenzen-Wright, who is the executive director of Delta Access. And to get things started off here, I'd like you to help me welcome John Pickle to our studio. John, it's good to have you.
Hey,
Thanks
Victor
for coming
Lorthos.
in. That's me. I want to talk to you a little bit now. Pickle TV, of course, was a legend on local public access for years and years and years. And how I know it was on for what, like 7 years? Was it 7 for the total
7
run?
years, yeah.
7 years? What got you into making movies and television in the first place? What kind of got you started?
Well, first off, I'd like to say what's going to be legendary is everybody that comes on the show needs to wear sunglasses.
When I see people are going to start asking for sunglasses, and they're going to start, I don't know, we can work out some kind of deal or something, I guess.
I'm only wearing these because Mike McCarthy brought his.
Well, now see, if that's the case, then you might have to, punch out a hooker in the parking lot, because I think he did that too before he left. But back to our original question, how long have you been making movies and television? What got you into it?
I guess right out of high school, or right before I got out of high school in '89, I believe I think it was the movie Evil Dead 2 that, that sparked my interest.
A fine film.
Yes, yes. But that movie really kind of got me started, and we picked up the video camera and just started making our original goal was to make our own version of Evil Dead 2. And this is way before I knew anything about editing.
Right.
And a lot of the ways that we would make these early films was we would just take the camera out. There was no editing.
Right.
There was a one shot. You had one shot to get it right, because we're editing it as we're filming it.
Right. Just pause it and then start from the next angle.
Right. So you get one take and that's it.
Nice.
And the way that I ran music was tore some Walkman headphones apart. Yeah. And rubber band it to the microphone on the camera, so you work the Walkman and the camera at the same time.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so we did that for a few years, and then in '93 is when I met Bob Sawyer, who had a show running for a few years called the More Than Music Show. Okay. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that.
Yeah, I believe we have record of that in the archives somewhere, yeah.
Yeah. So me and my friends kind of teamed up with him, and we kind of became the cast of the More Than Music Show with Bob and Tim Avenshine. Okay. Yeah, and I guess it was a few years after that, and we just continually, I was still doing things on my own other than, the cable access show, and it just kind of balled up, and things got real busy, so I wanted to kind of do my own thing, so I stopped doing cable access. Right. And a little while after that, David Shelby, who works here, called me up and says, you really ought to start your own show. Yeah. And I thought, yeah, you're right. so I started my own show, and 34 episodes later, here we are. Cool. That's very cool. Now that was mostly, when you were doing that, it was mostly friends and family, if I'm correct, and you were people just kind of helping you out and putting together skits and stuff like that? Yeah, a lot of friends. Right, and were you just shooting on like borrowed equipment or just whatever you could get? The first camera we kind of found. I got you. And after that, we got our own equipment and began to build from there. Once I began to learn, I've never been to film school. Right. My schooling was the people that I met that knew more about it. So it was kind of a hands-on school, I guess you could say. Okay. I would learn from everybody that I worked with, and I'm still learning today. Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, that's very cool, and I know a lot of people want to go the film school route, but there are a number of filmmakers that have gone just and sort of picked up everything as they went, like Quentin Tarantino, and I think Kevin Smith flunked out of film school, before he made Clerks and stuff. So that's very cool. Now, all of this sort of led into, if I understand it correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, all of this sort of led into your independent feature, The Importance of Being Russell. Yeah, it's where all the background came from. Is that a lot of the same people as you did Pickle TV with, really? Yeah, a lot. A good 2/3 of the people that are in The Importance of Being Russell are people that were on my cable access show.
Oh, okay, cool.
But I mean, we did have a casting, and there's a lot of new people that we brought into it, and which kind of I like the fact that we had an idea for people, and then the people that we chose kind of brought their own little thing to it and made it its own thing.
Oh, okay. So it was kind of just a collaboration of talent, so to speak, and that's pretty cool. I saw it when it premiered at Indie Memphis, and just laughed my butt off the entire time. It was really, and the character actually of Russell reminds me so much of a friend of mine that I grew up with, who I think had the same sunglasses and stuff. Now, you brought us a clip, so I want to go to that, and let's take a look at that right now and get a little bit of The Importance of Being Russell, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
Is that the phone?
Not so fast there, cornflake. Where's my wife? You must think I'm some goddamn dummy, don't you? I don't know you ain't sitting by my wife.
Russell! It took you long enough to find us. How could you get us into this? Look at these crazy people. I told you these people were crazy. Get me out of this. What's going on?
Yeah, that's her. Yeah. You can go put that gag back in now.
You gotta send this mess. I told you so. I told you these people. This has gone on long enough. Give me the phone now.
Just hold on a minute.
Man, that was nice. I am really impressed by that sequence, because so many people think independent film is, just a bunch of folks shooting in their backyard and stuff like that. And that looked really. How did you get that? How did you get the effect of the big station and everything behind you?
Well, actually, we did shoot that in a backyard.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, it was shot in a garage that we had decked out with, with the green screens.
Okay.
Which was about a 12-hour shoot that day for that whole sequence.
Really? And that was, but it was all digitally added afterwards and everything?
Yeah. It was done by a guy named Greg Stanford. Right. Which, interesting story behind that is, I met Greg years and years and years ago. Right. And when I met Sean Flemings and Jeff Hassan, the director and cinematographer and editor for Russell, I had no idea that they knew him too. But back in the day, when it was very early Pickle TV stuff. When we ran into Greg, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm a filmmaker too," and I was like, "Okay, yet another filmmaker." I know.
Oh, they're everywhere. Yeah, they're all over the YouTube, I hear.
But I had absolutely no idea that he had the talent and the capabilities that he did to do what he does. And the first test shot that he gave us. We just happened to run into him because we were going to have people from Memphis College of Arts try to do it. But then we ran into Greg, and he said, "Well, let me mess with it and see what you think." Right. And he brought that first test shot over, and it was a gasping night.
Just a huge difference, and you get those few people that have real talent, and it'll make a tremendous difference. And like I said, I was really impressed with the cinematography and the effects, and just the writing and pretty much everything about it. Now, the character of Russell, like I said, it kind of reminds me of a guy that I grew up with in Mississippi, who was always putting stuff together, taking stuff apart, trying to invent stuff, and just was very eclectic. Was that an original character for you, or was that a combination of other things, or how did that come about?
Well, just like you said, it's a combination of a whole lot of people that I've known throughout the years. Actually, the character comes from just a skit that I did on my cable access show. I thought I'd do this redneck character, and just see where it went from there. But after that was done, and a lot of people saw it, it was like, wow, this dude, he's really funny. Yeah. And it just kind of spawned from there. As far as that whole taking him and developing him and turning him into this thing that he originally wasn't. He was a lot more harsh
Really?
In the beginning, only some guy you'd meet, Harpo's.
That kind of scary, crazy redneck. Yeah, it's probably got a body down in the swamp or something.
Yeah, but we turned him more into a little bit more likable.
Really, that's very cool. What kind of budget were you guys shooting on? I mean, what sort of time did you shoot over the course of a year?
It took about 3 years from start to finish to get it done.
Was that all shooting, or was that shooting plus post-production?
No, it was a year to write it, a year to shoot. Well, about 8 months to shoot it, and then a really long year after that putting it all together. Right.
Did you run into a lot of problems during the shooting, or did that go fairly smooth for you?
Well, there's always problems that come up while shooting, but there's a lot of teeth grinding. There's a lot of I don't like this and you don't like that and you don't know what you're talking about. But at the end of it, when it's all done, it's almost like you kind of forget about all that.
Yeah, it's like childbirth. And sooner or later, you start thinking about maybe I'll just have another kid or make another movie.
Yeah, and you go, what was I thinking?
Oh man! Now, like I said, I saw it at Indy Memphis when it premiered, and you'd also had a pretty successful run for a little while at Studio on the Square, I believe.
Well, we had a test screening at Studio on the Square before the Indy Memphis gig, but we do have a week-long run coming up, which is going to be September 7th through the 13th.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so we'll have a week-long run of the movie, so
all right,
come check it out.
Oh, well, yeah, we'll have to look for that. Now, of course, Indy Memphis this year is going to be at Studio on the Square, I just found out. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, that's going to be going on, and we should be having a pretty good time at that. Now, have you submitted this for other festivals? Has it played in other places?
Yeah, it's been running on the film festival circuit for the last year.
How's it been doing?
It's been doing really good. We've won 3 or 4 awards. I
really?
Can't remember now.
Nice.
And one funny thing is at this past year's Mid-South Science Fiction Convention.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had an unexpected win from that because it's not a film festival.
Right.
But they give an award for science fiction fantasy works.
Right.
And
well, that definitely qualified. I mean, it was
someone had nominated it for an award, and
that's nice.
We took that one home, and that was pretty neat.
Well, if the geeks like it, then it's got to be decent sci-fi. I mean, I don't know anything about a science fiction convention or winning a Dungeons and Dragons tournament or anything like that. So.
Well, who would expect a sci-fi redneck movie?
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. It's not, the rednecks are kind of the last people you'd expect to really be in space. But they're going to be there. They're going to show up. Yeah, Somebody has to drive the trucks.
I really had to be talked into that one too. So
really?
Thanks, Sean.
Now, have you been working on some distribution? I mean, we were talking a while back about you were looking at some different theaters that you could maybe get into and kind of handle the distribution yourself. How's that going?
Well, we're kind of toying around with the distribution right now. We're kind of waiting until we get done with this week-long run, and but we're submitting to some independent movie theaters around the country. Which is kind of, once you're done with film festivals, and you've done all you can do with a film festival, then if no one approaches you about distribution, then what do you do with your movie? Yeah,
this always seems to be the biggest thing for people to get over. People can figure out how to make the movie, but distribution is this whole other world of trying to convince people that they'll get something out of it if they take it on and give you a chance, and it's kind of weird.
But if you can create a big enough buzz about your film, and then kind of search out some independent movie theaters, and ask them to just give your movie a chance and just kind of see what happens from there. That's kind of what happened to Evil Dead 2, or the original Evil Dead.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I was reading Bruce Campbell's biography, and he was talking about that they managed to get it into some small theaters. They did some good business, and they were able to take that and go from there.
Right.
All right. Well, we really appreciate you coming in. I got to wrap up now. We're going to go to a break. Thank you very much.
Hey.
And we're going to have you back on, especially once you start getting some other stuff kind of going and see what you can find out about the distribution. Maybe you can come in and explain all that to us. Explain how that works.
I don't know if I'll be the one to do that.
That seems to be the biggest mystery. Well, thank you. All right, folks. Look, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to have Tracy Lorenzen right in here. We'll be talking to her about Delta Access. So stay tuned for us, and thank you.